Well, how do there, chums? It is I, Captain Steve. Today, chums, for you guys, in the viewerverse, I'm doing some investigation into some environmental readings that I think could mean something or might not mean anything. It's a little bit of an odd one, and I may need your help in trying to understand patterns in these sort of anomalies. And when I say anomalies, it is very anomalous, the actual readings we're getting. So anyway, I need to show you what the fudge I'm talking about, don't I? So I was on Meogi's sort of egg giveaway planet the other day, and I spotted this strange anomaly while I was on there. Now, this isn't something that I've just recently spotted, it's just something that I've recently started thinking about a little bit more in a little bit more depth. I mean, I spotted this going back perhaps even 3 years ago when they introduced the exotic biomes. So on exotic biome planets you can pick up trophies, and I noticed that on some of these exotic trophy worlds I was getting anomalous readings when it came to weather. It seemed to be the planets that didn't have any weather, and so yes, it was a bit of an odd one, so I just put it down to being that. But as you can see here, this is a bubble lush. And you can see here this anomalous strength reading. As soon as I get the opportunity to get out of my ship, it gives you a warning about the temperature or environmental issues that that planet may have. This one says a boundary is failing, and it says about the anomaly strength being minus 20.80. Now it seems to be minus 20 something at night and plus 20 something in day. It's a very odd sort of thing, and if you move your ship around it does change slightly in increment, but not by much. Now I've been flying around the planet to see if I can get it to go to super high strength or super low strength, but it seems to be related to the day and night cycle rather than actual location on the planet. There is a slight indication on planet, but this could just be if the sun is further down, I guess, at night, or further up in day. I don't think it's got anything to do with the XYZ coordinates of a planet. It seems to be linked to the day and night cycle of a planet, and perhaps maybe the weather conditions. But I've done this during storms and nothing actually changes. So it's a bit of a weird one. Now, there's no other sort of planets in this system where they have this anomalous reading, and there are no sort of trophy or exotic planets here other than this sort of paradise planet that I just indicated that actually has this anomalous reading. It's very, very odd. So I figured, well, let's go and have a look at some of my oddest of planets and see if they do the same thing. So this planet that I'm hitting up now, people, is actually a nest planet. So this is one of the infested planets that I think perhaps, and it's also got boundary failures upon it, you know, those big ring type things. So I'm hoping this one is going to give me one of those anomalous readings, and perhaps maybe something might happen on this planet at some sort of state. So let's see if this one has got that same strange reading inside the ship's cockpit. So as soon as I get out of this sort of warping animation, I will be hitting up my ship and looking at the console. So, you can actually hear that the music on this planet, or the sound effects on this planet, are quite odd anyway. I mean, this planet is very odd. So this is one of the newest sort of biomes, if you like. But like I say, I did notice this about 3 years ago on the exotic biome planets that have no sort of... Look at that, see? External temperature, and it just mentions about the temperature, even though this planet is a frickin' weird one. And it doesn't have that many sort of storms, nothing that you'd write home about. Look, I've got like a boundary failure over there. But you know that it mentions about anomaly, boundary failure. Now, whenever I go to Meogi's planet, I either warp to my base, or I go from the anomaly and get there. So let's see if flying into the actual space anomaly and then flying back to this planet has any bearing on this sort of reading. So let's just call in the anomaly. I'm going to speed this up for you guys. We're going to land in the anomaly and then fly back out and fly back down to the planet. And let's see if that does anything to the actual front. I'm going to land by... No, I actually landed right next to the boundary failure. So it's got nothing to do with the boundary failures, and it's got nothing to do with the newer biomes. So what the heck is the trigger? Okay, well, this is just getting more and more interesting. So let's hit on up, say, let's go for, I'm looking for maybe my boundary failure. I've got one where I actually watch the same boundary. It's called my abandoned watcher. So this is my spider base. There it is, the abandoned watcher. We'd go there, we'd hit this one up. So this planet, Chums, is one of those exotic biomes that I was on about, that I spotted this on going back 3 years ago. And I think this is one of the planets where I've done a lot of sort of research on. I flew round to each boundary failure because I was doing the boundary failure lore, and I was looking at the readings that I was getting, but I didn't make the connection to the day and night cycle. So back then I thought this had something to do with the XYZ coordinates. But yeah, let's see if this one still gives that same reading or whether it's changed now. Right, this is every single iteration that we get, every new update. I come to this sort of planet to see if the boundary failures have become active, because this base is right above one of those giant wheelie type things. You know, the big boundary failures, which, I've got bases by a few of them, because I've been waiting for these things to become active at some stage. Pretty much like portals did all that time ago. Anyway, let's have a look. Yes, see, look, that's got the actual failure there. But this is not a bubble planet. This is one of those sort of plated planets that's got all those jellyfishy type looking plants all over it. So yeah, a bit of an odd one, this one. So there you go, minus 7.60. Oh look, it's just changing to daytime. So you can see here the day and night cycle. You see the anomaly strength has gone from minus to going right up into a plus sort of state. And this is exactly what Meogi's does as well, in between night and day. So yeah, this is an oddity. This is an oddity, isn't it? So the sun comes up, and with it, the anomalous reading goes up. Now what I would say as well, Chums, is I can fly to all the other planets inside of this system. None of the other planets do it, just this one planet. So has it got anything to do with the sun hitting the planet's surface? I don't think so, because every single planet is affected by the same sun in a system. Now, is it because there's binary suns in this system? I really don't know. It's a freaking oddity. It's got me scratching my little bonnet, and I have no idea what the fudge is going on. So that's gone all the way up to 30.80. So yes, it'd been interesting to see if any of you guys have got planets that are in the hundreds, hundreds when it comes to this sort of state, rather than just, double figures, whether it goes into triples. So yeah, if you do come across a planet that has an extremely high reading of anomalous state, let me know. I'll come check out your planet and see if we can spot any sort of patterns. So yeah, I would need portal codes, which can be fun trying to decipher what people feel the glyphs are. But there is a whole wiki page on glyphs. I'll drop a link in this video description, so if you do want to drop me over portal coordinates, we're singing from the same hymn sheet. So here we go, there we are. That's a pretty odd one, isn't it? But there we are. That one has got boundary failing. It's an oddity. It's an oddity. I'm wondering whether something's going to happen, but because this got put in 3 years ago, and we haven't actually seen boundaries fail as yet, it does make me wonder if this is linked to a very big update or something they've been working on for the last 3 freaking years. Right, well, let's hit on up my settlement, because my settlement base, I know, has got frequent storms, so I'd imagine this has got some sort of environmental warning, but I'd imagine it's to do with the heat sort of waves that you get. So I'm wondering whether it might just be simply planets that have no other sort of environmental condition. Perhaps Hello Games have just stuck this in as filler. It could be as simple as that. So if you've got a planet that is very non-weather related, it's just flat when it comes to freaking weather, perhaps that's going to give the sort of environmental reading. Who knows? This has really got me scratching my head. Right, well, where's my ship? Where the fudge is my ship? And we're going to jump into that as quick as possible, because this sort of storm just melts you. It really does. There's my ship over there, and we can just sort of melee strafe, jump all the way over to it now with my bubble jetpack. So yeah, this is another thing. The Normandy that we picked up. Okay, well, I'll go back to Normandy in a second. You can see there, it just gives the external temperature reading. So yeah, the Normandy came through a boundary failure, didn't it? So too did the living ships. Now all this stuff is happening in between the 3-year period of these new updates that we're getting now, and it does make me wonder whether it's all sort of leading to something. So when I say maybe they've been working on this for 3 years, or maybe it's part of a bigger update, maybe I might be onto something. I really don't know. Would love to hear your thoughts. Again, stick them in the comments. Okay, well, I just had a thought. My actual big blue planet has changed colours a few times. It's no longer freaking blue for a start, it's purple. And this one has got giant worms that leap out whenever we go there. So as soon as I get out of this animation right now, this warping, there will be a worm. I'll jump in the cockpit of the ship, hopefully in time before the worm comes, and we can see it jump over maybe the ship. And we'll see if this one gives a reading. I mean, worms are new. This biome has changed a couple of times. Has it got bubbles on? I don't think it does. Could this be a bubble lush sort of feature? Who knows? I'm really at a loss. Right, no, this one doesn't have bubbles, but it is sort of like a bioluminescent sort of lush. And yes, the weather here can be very odd at times. Sometimes I've even had meteor showers. But like I say, this is actually frequented by worms. So let's have a look at the screen. No, external temperature, that's all I'm getting. Oh, here comes one of the worms. There he is, wormy worm. Hello there, wormy. So yes, it's got nothing to do with the new worms that have been added in either. So yeah, oddity, a very odd one. Because, yeah, I was thinking for a second, well, you know, we had Emergence 4, didn't we? And they talked about this worm spawn. So maybe I thought worm planets might be a reason. Maybe the Meogi planet had worms, but perhaps no. Perhaps no, that's probably not it. All right, well, let's hit on up another one. So yes, I'm hitting up this base because I built this base before there was even power inside of the game. But if I remember rightly, this is one of those trophy planets that has one of those calcified sort of balls upon the planet's surface. So it is one of those trophy planets, one of the planets that used to trigger the sort of anomalous readings. So let's see if this actually does that, to see whether we can rule out trophy planets as being one of the sources. I mean, I think we can already do that because Meogi's planet is just a bubble lush. It's not one of the trophy planets. Righto, awesome. Boots on the ground at this one. Araya V. Yeah, I think there's probably a few people out there that probably recognize that name. Yes, it's one of the names of the planets inside of E3. So this is in the Kota hub. So when good old Cobra used to cover No Man's Sky, I built this here as like a PvP arena. And yeah, Snow Obsidian discovered this planet, and he was a PvP frickin' boss back in the day. You can see there it's got a giant boundary failure in the middle of this. So let's check out the screen. Oh, fudge, it's covered in planet. But it does look like it says environmental warning, low atmosphere planet. Which, yes, a lot of these trophy planets are low atmosphere. In fact, pretty much all of them are low atmosphere. So it's a little bit odd that my actual abandoned watcher, although it is a low atmosphere planet, yeah, there you go, low atmosphere detected, doesn't say this. It actually has a boundary failure warning. So it's an oddity. Plus also these are environmental warnings. So what is this anomalous boundary when it comes to environmental warning? I'm really wondering whether boundaries are collapsing. But then again, this is a boundary failure. So yeah, there you go. I've got to put power down for this. I'll do this in super fast motion. But it does make you sort of scratch your head as to say, well, why is one trophy planet different to another? Right, so I'm hitting up the Void Zoid. Now, the Void Zoid is one of the light fissure planets, but it's still a trophy planet. Now, the first planet we went to that was a trophy planet was my abandoned Watcher one. And that one had the jellyfish type plants on. That's a plated planet. So they're still both trophy type planets. So let's see what this one is. I don't think I've ever really taken much note of what the screen does on this actual planet. So this would be an interesting one for me. I'm going to say that it's going to just pick up that it's airless rather than it's an abandoned. Sorry, not abandoned. I mean like a boundary failed. So let's have a look in the actual ship's cockpit and we'll see what it actually says. So here we go. And it does say a low atmosphere detected, which I thought it would. So yeah, this seems to be the more typical sort of reading that you get on these sort of planets, not boundary failure, even though these planets are littered in boundary failure type machinery, you know, those big whirly machines. Anyway, let's go over to my Kraken Scorpion base, because this is an interesting biome. So when I say this one is an interesting biome, this one has got no storms. This is a flat planet for storms. Now, it's got hardly any flora on it either, and it almost looks like it's an exotic planet. I mean, it does have that weird sort of eerie, music-y type vibe to it, but as far as I'm aware, this is a lush planet. It hasn't got the bubbles though, so this is not a bubble lush. Will this do it? This is a planet that doesn't get hit by storms and is just flat. Let's see how we get on with this one to see whether it's just a lush thing. Well, here we go. So this is my lush planet. And yes, you can see here the storms. It's just got boiling puddles. But no, there's no sort of extreme weather that hits this planet whatsoever. So this is just like Meogi's planet, apart from it just hasn't got bubbles. So there we go. Yeah, and it's a Star Bramble one. I mean, it looks like it's frost, but it's not. Let's jump in my ship and let's see if this has that reading. It doesn't. Surprise, surprise. I really thought this one would. I thought this one would be a serious contender for for being odd. I mean, it's got odd freaking music in the background, hasn't it? It's proper damn freaking odd. Anyway, let's hook this up and let's jump to another planet. I'm now thinking, well, you know the droid planets, the planets that have droids, they only have the droid-type fauna on. Well, they're freaking weird, aren't they? And they normally have the eerie sort of music as well. I wonder whether they're a contender. I mean, they're the only planets that have fauna that look completely out of place, like they've just come out of some sort of boundary failure. So let's hit on up a droid planet, and let's have a look to see if that brings in the strange reading. So yeah, I'm really trying to think of all of the oddities that the latest updates have brought. Yet, thinking back, you know, this sort of thing has been there in the last 3 years. In fact, I found a Reddit post that mentions this. And yeah, the feedback that we got is, oh yeah, it happens on some of the exotic biomes that have just been added in that give you these trophies. Yet now we're seeing this happening on bubble lushes and other sorts of planets that don't fit that sort of category. So what is this all about? And is this a plan of Hello Games that just hasn't been brought into fruition? Right, so let's go on out and let's see if my ship says that this one has got an anomalous reading. So this planet itself has got those giant sort of Sonic the Hedgehog-like rings all over it that you can fly through. And it is quite an exotic sort of planet. Again, it's got the eerie music. No boundary failure text there whatsoever, but it still has those big boundary failure ring machines on it, and it has droidy, machiney fauna that you can see sort of crawling about all over the floor over here. So yeah, that's an oddity as well. I really thought this would have been a serious contender for that too. Okay, well, you know what? I think there's only one other thing that I can test. And that is, do I have my own bubble lush? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's a lobster base that I built. I'm not very keen on the actual base itself. I was contemplating deleting it. I'm glad I didn't. So we're going to warp on over to my own bubble lush and see if it comes up with the same readings as Meogi's bubble lush. Yeah, so I guess you could find bubble lushes over on the Portal Exchange or, the Interstellar Index. So yeah, it does make you wonder whether this is limited to... Well, it's not limited to, though, is it? Because my boundary failure at the plated planet had it. So what the fudge is the pattern? Righto, so this is my bubble lush. So if this does have it, then I've got 2 bubble lushes that have it, and also my boundary failure base, which is a plated world with the jellyfish-type plants. So yeah, there's no sort of patterns between bubble lushes and that. I mean, there we go. You can see here it's a star bramble bulby world, a little bit like my bluegrass one that we was on earlier, and this is my lobstery-type base. You know what? If you guys want to come and actually investigate this yourselves, I'll give you the portal code in a moment, but let's see if this is one of those planets, first and foremost. Yes, it is. Look at that. It is yes, anomalous strength of 23.80. And I bet you that dives into minus 23.80 during the night. So yes, it is very much linked to the day and night cycle. So since this is a bubble lush planet, if you guys want to come and investigate and see if you can find a higher reading upon this planet that maybe dives into the hundreds or something, here we go. I'll give you the actual portal code. This is in Euclid. It's also in my NMSA 905 hub zone. Now, this isn't really a system I overly care too much about. Come here, build, do all the fudge you like. Heck yes. But yeah, if you do find something odd about this planet, please hit me up and let me know about it. That would be much appreciated. But I'm going to continue with my investigation as I'm flying about the verse. I'm not going to go out of my way to investigate this, no. But if I do come across anything else and any thoughts and feelings on this, I'd be sure to share it with you. But isn't it an oddity? What an oddity. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, goodbye, and goodbye again. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, please hit a like and a subscribe. And I'd like to say a massive, great big thank you to all of my backers over on Patreon and over on YouTube membership. Thanking you, backers. And if you want to support this channel, just don't skip the adverts. That throws revenue down my avenue. Or yeah, just stay with Captain Steve that little bit longer and hit something on this screen. There's merch here now too.